I won't get into the nuances here. One other big thing I think I want to talk about here is, how many of you are aware of mobile number portability? Have you done mobile number portability, anybody? Good, good. You know, and we'll talk about that. I think I've got one other slide. But there is a concept called POI. Are you guys familiar with what a POI in a telecom world is? Point of interconnect, exactly. It's like point of interference, because it is what one company, so for example, when Geo users make a call to another operator, it is an E1, that is a physical connection, right? Physical connection of, an E1 is, think about it like a 2 megabits link, right? And E1 by E1 they provision, right? One circuit after the other. Each operator provisions based on demand. And they make the other operator run around. Oh, I don't have capacity here. I don't have capacity there. I don't have capacity here. This POI is a thing of the past, in my opinion. Second is, why only mobile number portability? Why is it that when you go from operator to operator, you cannot take your services also with you? Why is it that if you host content in one operator, you cannot take that content anywhere else? Why should there be no service portability? It's not just about the physical storage of portability, but let's say you have 1-800 calling. Let's say you have rich communication services. That means when you get into the office, your phone switches to your, my laptop as an example. You know, even an iPhone does that in the iCloud. Like for example, if you have 5 Mac devices, all of them ring. And when you are inside your office, you can switch your call from your phone to the MacBook if you want. You know, all those capabilities. What if I can take it from one services to the other? Why shouldn't it be possible in India today? It is inherently established constraints. And it is very hard each time to battle it one after the other. There's a lot of education that has to go through. But I think it's an extremely important opportunity. And I'm sure hopefully you guys read it all. This is, what are some of the service provider challenges? Time to service, product evolution, over-the-top threat, network to cloud, agility. What you are seeing through all of this is in each one of these domains, the typical service provider takes a lot of time to do things. But a guy like Google and Facebook and all, they're very agile. If you have to compete in a market-based economy, you have to be agile. If IIM Kozhikode has to be the topmost institute in the world, you have to be agile. It's very important. And that is very important and distinguishes each one of you as you get into the workforce, right? That's what differentiates you from someone else, because it's a competitive world. Telecom is a hyper-competitive business. Don't worry about it. This is again GAN. We'll not worry about GAN. See, but in short, the network is becoming like a platform at the end of the day. That means it's very well orchestrated, as we talked about earlier, right? That means it's very automated. Everything historically is when you go into a data center, you see these boxes and boxes, servers and servers and servers. This server does this thing, another server does another thing, another server does database, another server does email storage, whatever it is. Today, you don't have to do that. You just take over-the-shelf servers, virtualize them, and run multiple processes, multiple activities, and everybody, based on demand, based on load, can share that process. That's the whole idea. And nothing has to be proprietary. And that's the whole world we are in. In fact, today, a lot of the end-to-end encryption that you find. In fact, even GeoChat, I think last week or today or yesterday, is it today? Today, released full encryption. And I know it's not just about WhatsApp, by the way, which is, and I don't know whether you guys read it. WhatsApp, the end-to-end encrypted WhatsApp has one thing called a hole in the server. I don't know if any of you read it. Your messages are not that safe. And now you may ask, what about Reliance? You may have a hole in the server. Every server has a hole. And now the question is, what is the mechanism to use that hole? I'm sure each one of you know, when you take a service from a phone company, every phone company, there are 7 lawful agencies in India, has to conform to that lawful intercept request that comes from these 7 security agencies. So I could be monitored, you could be monitored. But there is a process those companies, those agencies come to the operator with. And there is a process within the operator's business to enable that. And in today's technology, most of the time, even the operator themselves are not known about it because we give feeds to these 7 agencies. And in this new world, where security is very important, I have no problem if somebody personally is reading all my everything, because I hope I don't get into doing things that I shouldn't be doing. It is better, in my opinion, the right government framework or the right security framework manage my data rather than a spammer or a hacker manage my data, and yet feel confident about that process. Now we will wrap this up very quick. This is one guy that I've met only twice. I don't know him on a personal basis, but I've had lunch with him as part of my work at Sprint. Outstanding individual, as I don't have to tell you this, but the ones who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world are the ones that do. And that applies so much to each one of us in our everyday lives. And what I thought is the crazy comrades, right? Let us all support entrepreneurism and innovation to win. I think that's the opportunity that you guys have. I think I look forward to helping you guys in any which way, right? And we do that with IIT Bombay, and we'll be more than happy to work with IIM Kozhikode as required in making this happen, opening our labs, opening to young minds, so that you want access to 4G, you want access to systems, you want to try and test something, you want access to a data center. You know what? It doesn't cost us much to do this. And it'll be a great service for us to do, and we'll be happy to do that for you. And this is, again, some personal creativity. I had someone in my office do this for me just a little bit, give me these pictures. The whole idea is, here's the man who's leading this from the front. And Mukesh is another crazy individual. Hence, he's going to support Mr. Modi, whether it is in Kerala, a beautiful gal from Kerala, right? It's not there that prominent, so I have to explain it's a gal from Kerala. And the farmer on the left, I said, can we not get a little bit of rugged farmer? He looks like a film actor, right? So I got to make amends there. But the idea is, I think we have a great opportunity to reimagine the future with you. Thank you very much, folks. So I'm all here to answer any of the questions you guys have. Free to ask any questions.
In a recent study that I read, it was mentioned that most phone users in India are feature phone users. About 70% of them are feature phone users. And for 4G to become widely accepted, I mean, other than the fact that we are still setting up the infrastructure and the ecosystem, I think this could be a major hurdle because it said that most of them are unwilling to upgrade to a smartphone. So how do we plan to capture that market?
What's the cost of a feature phone?
Less than 1,500, 2,000 max.
Good. So he's got a very important question there. He's right. About 570 to 600 million users in India use feature phones. And I won't get into the nuances of numbers. When people say we have 1.1 billion users, it just means we have 1.1 billion SIMs. Remember that. It's not the number of users. Don't get too excited that we've got little kids running around. I hope their brains don't get convoluted by all this stuff. And it's, by the way, it's not a good thing. Let them be creative at that young age. So when we talk about the Geo ecosystem to embrace everyone in India, we will take care of that problem very, very, very soon to make sure that device and the affordability to the coconut climber is not going to be an issue. We'll take care of that.
As you mentioned, Indian market totally rides on the affordability aspect, and we see that Jio is totally riding on the freebies that it's offering. A lot of us are using Jio as a second SIM right now to test it, to see how it is working right now. How do you see the market shaping up once the free offers and the freebies are taken off?
Again, fantastic question. We would like you to stay. And you know, we had an independent study done by two different firms, and it's publicly available. They said at this point, 87 to 90% of users who are using Jio will stay with Jio. Now the question is it primary SIM? Is it secondary SIM? Because like we talked about, 1.1 billion users, how many of them have dual SIM devices versus single SIM devices, etc. I sincerely believe the telecom industry, the service provider industry, the internet industry in India is going to go through a stabilization process. And that stabilization process, I believe, will happen in the next 18 months to 2 years, maximum. And if you look at any large market in India, across the world, the number of operators cannot be so many operators. It's going to get consolidated. And at that point in time, I believe the experience will improve, the profitability of these entities will improve, because you need the entities to be profitable. You can't be a parasitic relationship, but you also don't want certain companies to be charging a significantly higher price point to the customer when they don't need to do that. If Reliance did not get in, some of these players cut their GB cost by 90%, right? And for that, Reliance had to step in. And we believe that a significant chunk will stay with us. We believe that for us to do that, we have to continue to execute and provide the quality of service and the differentiated service. Right now, we do have a lot of issues because we are still a new player in the block. Price point is not the differentiator. It's the experience that is the differentiator. And when we have so much growth happening on our network, there are going to be times when we are going to falter. And we are addressing those as we speak, whether it is coverage, whether it is capacity. Remember, most of the time it's not a coverage issue. There is only so many users who can have so much network capacity, because it's like a 4-lane highway. You cannot pack 200 cars and get 90 miles an hour. And when you were 10 cars, each guy was getting 90 to 100 miles an hour, right? So we will have to enhance that 4-lane highway to 8-lane highway or manage it differently. So that's the process I think we will go through as an industry.
I recently read that a future monetization strategy for Geo will be that they have this whole ecosystem of apps, My Geo, which Geo Cinema, Geo TV, Geo Money. So don't you think that as users get on board with the Geo system, these things will never be a core competency for Geo? So with regards to Geo Music, I might switch to a Gaana.com. For Geo TV, I might switch to Hotstar. For Geo Money, I might switch to Paytm. So does it really make sense for Geo to concentrate on this ecosystem which they're trying to build? Because it will never be a core competency for Reliance.
Very good point. We can try to be just the big pipe, a pipe that gives you speeds, and you do what you want. That's a business model. And certain times, provide the pipe with some value-added services, especially if it is content that you cannot get from elsewhere. Then I think you will find that certain users will come for that content to this side, and that will be our ability to monetize beyond pipes. See, the Googles and the Facebooks of the world, right? Reliance has invested over $30 billion in 4 years. And when most of my users are watching content that belongs to 3 or 4 guys outside, that I'm not mentioning the name, who's not giving 1 cent to the operator has to continue to reinvent itself. Would all the apps that we have is going to be 100% success factor for us? I don't think so. But there will be certain content-related apps. Because if you think about Netflix, if you look at US and Europe, especially US, 62% of an operator's traffic in the United States is Netflix. So, and remember, Netflix and Amazon, actually Amazon Prime in India, etc., has not just exclusive content, but also original content. That will be one way for us to differentiate. Yes, ma'am.
I had a counter viewpoint to his question only. I seem to think that the apps that you're providing, especially with something like a wallet, which actually builds upon a customer base. So isn't this somehow against net neutrality?
Okay, I'll answer that question. Net neutrality is if I create something on my network and I do not allow a third party to access that asset or content or capability. But if I have it's like saying if I'm YouTube and YouTube and I have an agreement where they have 200,000 movies and I bring 50,000 movies onto my network for a fee and give exclusive access to Geo users for that 50,000 users. For that 50,000 movies for my 100 million users, let's say. Then that breaks kind of net neutrality concept. The other is, if I am prioritizing traffic for Geo users to give them a highway to go to YouTube. Or I am prioritizing YouTube content on my network, another way to look at it. And I'm differentiating YouTube traffic on my network compared to IIM Kozhikode traffic. Then I'm giving preferential treatment to YouTube/Google. Net neutrality says, irrespective of type of content and how big they are or how little they are on the network, you have to make sure that everyone is treated equally. So it is not a net neutrality issue if I create my wallet, if I create my content, as long as I'm allowing everyone equal access to it and similar fair access to it. But if I'm differentiating that access and being unfair to a few, then it falls under the gambit of net neutrality.